Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Chris and I just wanted to take this moment to welcome all of my new subscribers. Hello to all of my existing subscribers and thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I just also wanted to let you know that I am so close to hitting my first goal as a YouTube content creator. So make sure you hit those notification bells when you subscribe. And that way YouTube will notify you when I upload a video, because you just never know when that video is going to have the giveaway announcement. And I am getting so close, so you never know, it might even be the next video. But with that being said, let's start the video. Okay, I am going to be starting off using the color Americana and the DIY Cottage paint, and I'm just going to really cover the surface, but not completely. I just want some of that brownish color to come through. And you guys are probably looking at the inside of that going, what in the heck is going on there? Well, I pulled out the foam that those flowers were in, thinking I would be able to clean it up, but the more water I used to clean up, it was like the clay that the pot was made out of was starting to give away. So I didn't want to take a chance on ruining that, so I kind of quit while I was ahead, but I am going to be putting some new foam in. You'll see. And once I finish applying that Americana color, you can see where that brown is coming through, and that's just going to save me a step down the road. But now I'm just going to take some DIY's white wax, and I'm going to just go over it, kind of focusing a lot on those ridges. I'm still kind of new to this wax, trying to get used to my feel for how much. And at the end, I kind of feel like I should have added more white wax, but regardless, it still came out really pretty and looked so much better than the before. But, you know, as I put that on, I'm just going to wipe away with a towel any excess and just keep doing that over. And this is going to serve as our sealer. So that's just another step that we're going to be spared from. I hope you guys can see that. I think that looks really pretty. All right, once I've got that all painted and waxed up, we're going to go ahead and insert some foam. And I get all my foam from Hobby Lobby. I just get the best price there when you break it down. But, you know, wherever you want to get it from, of course. But I'm just going to stick that in there, apply some hot glue on top, and then I'm going to add some Spanish moss. And with a silicone spatula that I had picked up from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to kind of tuck that in around the edges so it's not overflowing. And then I also picked up these carnations from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to insert those in there. And I've got some other picks that I picked up from, I believe it was Michael's, just to give it a little more interest. And then it's all finished. So let me know what you guys think about this project. To start out with, I'm just going to go ahead and take some painter's tape and I'm going to wrap it around that stem, at least around the bottom and the top part of it, because I definitely want that silver part of that stem to show through. Okay, once I get that painter's tape protecting that stem, I'm just going to be painting using the color Americana, and this is in the DIY Cottage paint. I picked this up from Sammy at Unicorn Dust Designs, and I will be sure to leave her link in my description box. But I am going to be going over the entire, and I'm going to call this a trinket holder, but I'm going to go over that minus the rim on the top. I want that rim to also be showing that silver. This is going to kind of be a match to the tray that I made in last week's video. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll be sure to link that in the description box as well. And then I'm just going to grab a smaller angled paintbrush and just try to get around that rim. If I got any paint on it, I would just use a little microfiber cloth or a paper towel, and I would just kind of scrape that paint off of that rim. And this did take a little bit of time, and they just put on a video in the background, support my favorite YouTuber, shout out Unicorn Dust Designs, and just let that play. And once I get that underside done, then it's time to flip it over. I do use a heat gun in between steps just to dry it down quicker. But once I get to the inside, I've got all these little curves. I thought, okay, I'm going to do this rim part first because it's the most tedious part and it's going to be the most time-consuming part. And it definitely was. I'd go around it, get too much on the rim, wipe it off, just back and forth. And I'll let you guys kind of watch this. I'm going to try to speed it up just a little bit more so it's not too terribly long for you. And then I grabbed an even smaller artist paintbrush and went around that rim once again, covering up any kind of streaky looking paint, which there was quite a bit of, but just went around that just carefully, and then again using a paper towel to wipe up any that got on that rim. And that's what we got so far. I think showing that little bit of silver is gorgeous on the stem. Now I did have some paint peel up right here, and I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Okay, so I'm going to be using a transfer out of the seed catalog, and I'm going to be using this image right here. I'm just going to start by cutting that out. I have some really fine scissors right here that I'm going to be using to trim this out because I don't want, I need to get me some that's got wider holes for your fingers, but I don't want the words. So I'm just going to be trimming those out. And then I'm just going to grab my larger pair of scissors and just cut out the image. These are a lot more comfortable than those smaller ones. And then I'm just kind of get an idea of where I'm going to be placing that down. And you want to make sure that paint is very dry, because otherwise when you place that transfer down, you're going to get some scratches. So I did have to go back over it and re-dry it and then try once again. But I went ahead and took out some of the smaller flowers and trimmed those out because I thought putting something on the bottom would just add more character to this piece. So that's what I'm going to do, using those smaller scissors so I can get around all that little detail without cutting them in places I don't want to cut them. And also, because the surface we're going to be placing this transfer on is curved, I would cut, almost like cutting little slits into the paper so it will form. It's kind of what I'm doing here, but around the image itself, like the stems of the leaves. I would just cut as close to those stems as possible. That way when I laid this transfer into that curved surface, it just easier to rub it down. And then I'm just going to start at the bottom by putting those little flower pieces down. This is such a small little piece. I may just use my fingernail. And then once you've got that image burnished down very well and you remove the backing, you just want to take the back side of that backing that's nice and smooth and just kind of go over that image once again just to make sure it's down. And then we're just going to pretty much repeat this process by placing the larger image in the center and burnishing it down. I kind of start with my fingernails just to get around some of those raised rounded areas, because you definitely want this transfer to be stuck down without any gaps in the paper. I guess you can call it paper. But and then I would use the little tool that is supplied in the rub-on transfer sheets, and I would just go over the image, burnishing it down very well, and then lifting that backing sheet up and just pulling it up as that image is being released from it. And if any piece doesn't come up with it, you can just lay that transfer sheet back down and rub a little bit more and just continue doing this process. And then once you've got that transfer sheet completely up, don't forget to turn it over and rub over that image very well, making sure it's down. Now some of the paint in a couple of spots chipped away. It probably wasn't completely dry. So I'm going to touch those up, and then I am going to go ahead and put a sealer on it. And then here's the finale. Okay, so this one, I have a vision in my head. I don't know if it's going to work out, but we're going to see. Okay, so using my Perfectionist paintbrush, I'm going to start with a coat of the Vintage Linen from DIY, and I'm just going to cover that planter completely and making sure that I get down around that top part of the rim area where the pocket is, and making sure I get down in there as far as I can get. And then I'm just going to use my heat gun to dry that down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try this textured sand additive from Zinsser. I will link this in the description box, but I want to kind of compare it to the salt wash. Just going to add 1 big spoon, about a tablespoon. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of paint. And then I'm just going to pounce that mixture onto this planter. And the difference from the salt wash is this is definitely a lot more gritty, but I am just going to go over that planter completely with 1 coat of this stippling motion. Okay, so once that's dry, and you need to dry it down pretty well. At first I thought I was going to have to put a sealer on it because the sand was flaking as I was touching it after I thought it was dried. So I just continued to dry it with my heat gun, and the sand is now not falling off. It's sticking really well. Okay, so I am going to take Mineral from Waverly Chalk Paint, and I'm just going to use this same brush here. That first one I went in a little too heavy. So when you first start dabbing, you want to go very light pressure until you get some of that paint off, then you can go a little heavier. And then I'm just going to work this color all throughout the planter. And I'm not really concerned if some of that lighter vintage color is showing through. It just adds more character in my opinion. And once that coat's on, I am going to use my heat gun and draw that down. I've just got a sponge and some truffle. Lightly dabbing. Some of the Mineral on the same sponge. And then I'm just gonna kind of go over where I applied that truffle and spot, just to kind of remove some of the harshness of that darker color, just blending it in a little bit better to give it a more realistic look. I've got some Nimbus from Waverly as well. And on a clean sponge, I'm just going to apply this even lighter color just to brighten it up a bit. And then I just go in between those colors until I get the appearance that I'm happy with. And once I am done with that, I'm going to dry it down again. And then I'm going to dip back into that vintage linen color that we started with and kind of go over the surface, just kind of blending it in a little bit better. And I tend to concentrate a little bit on the bottom just to kind of show a little bit of variation. Now after I got that all dried down, I decided I was going to try to take some cinnamon, and I used a stencil brush. And of course that stencil brush is a little coarse, so I think if I would have used a softer brush to apply the cinnamon, I would have got better results, because just the more I brushed the cinnamon off of the planter, so it just wasn't working out. I decided I'm just going to grab some burnt umber from Apple Barrel. That's the closest paint I've got to any kind of rust color. And I'm just going to take that and go back over the edges of the planter and just kind of give it that rusty look. I'm going to clear coat it with matte clear enamel from Rust-Oleum. Wow, what a transformation, hey? Now, I was thinking about putting some stamps on this. I have some of these stamps from IOD. They are just, it's the Spriggs stamp collection. So I've not even opened these yet, so I'm going to have to prime them. And they say just to kind of go over the stamps lightly with a 220 grit sandpaper. And you only have to do that one time. And I don't want it too terribly dark, but we'll see. I'm still learning these stamps. And as I'm applying those stamps, I'm trying to hold it down to keep it from shifting and giving it a smudgy appearance. And on my last video, a subscriber had mentioned to use some masking tape, I guess, to hold them down in place. I wish I would have read that comment before I tackled this project. That may have helped. So if you need a little bit of assistance there, you can try that little tip. But I'm going to dry down these stamps and get that all set up. All right, I'm going to call that done. That gave it a Pottery Barn look, touch, feel. I like it. It's actually going to match some planters I had done several years ago, or some vases that I had done several years ago. So I do like it. The sand texture is less messy than using sand that you buy at the store, so I do appreciate that. So let me know in the comment section down below which one was your favorite out of these three. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch the video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit that like button. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.